Hey there, thank you for continually supporting my videos and coming back to my channel. But you know what else needs your support? The Black Lives Matter movement. In the description below, you'll find links to donation pages, petition pages, and ways to support Black-owned businesses. Racism is still very much an issue, even if the topic is no longer trending. Thank you so much, and now back to your normal video. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, down to the last page. Now for today's video, I'll be doing my book review of The Broker by John Grisham. This is the first book from my bookshelf TBR, and I will be leaving the link to the video somewhere here so you can check out the full list. Now, just as a quick synopsis, a non-spoiler quick synopsis, The Broker revolves around Joel Backman. He's a notorious ex-lawyer broker who is given a full pardon by the US president. However, this is a setup orchestrated by the CIA, whose main objective is to not only release him, but find out who's the first person to kill Joel. While working as a lawyer, Joel had a very elusive clientele list, and the events leading up to Joel going into prison in the first place means that there are a lot of people that are after Joel and want him dead. Once Joel's released, armed with a new identity and a new name, Marco, Joel is sent to Italy, and he spends some time in the city of Treviso, and for the other half of the book he also spends time in the city of Bologna. Here in Treviso, he first encounters his handler Luigi, and there to help break him into his new life as living as an Italian, obviously trying to get him used to the Italian lifestyle, making sure that he doesn't stand out and helping him to blend in with the locals. This is all a ruse, and obviously is all there to create a false sense of security for Joel. However, Joel does end up ignoring the early warning signs that he starts getting from the situation. At this point, he's appreciating being free rather than being back in solitary confinement. As the story goes on, we get to find out more about Joel's past. We also get to learn what caused Joel to end up in prison in the first place, and we also get treated to the adventures that Joel goes on while he's in Italy, the different people he meets, and some of those people who turn out to be fantastic allies and help Joel in the end. Now, a couple of things that I absolutely loved about the book, and the first one being there was a conversation between Luigi and Marco right near the beginning of the book. And during this conversation, Luigi's putting Marco/Joel through his paces, making sure that he understands the Italian nuances, the social cues. Never order a cappuccino after 10:30 in the morning, but an espresso can be ordered at any hour of the day. At this point, Joel asks him, why is that? He says, only tourists order cappuccino after lunch or dinner, a disgrace. All that milk on a full stomach. And for some strange reason, this quote, what he says, almost had me offended. The next thing I really liked about the book is the excessive mention of coffee. Joel/Marco mentions how coffee was his go-to thing, something that he was literally getting through all hours of the day when he was working as a broker. Not that he had the opportunity to have as much while he was in prison, and now that he's tromping the streets of Treviso, and obviously later on when he ends up in Bologna, he is exploring all the cafes everywhere he can, and obviously indulging in everything that the Italian coffee can offer. This proves to be vital for Joel as he ends up mapping out the city. He visits all the cafes, and as he's going out for his walks, this is nothing out of the ordinary. Anyone else that could possibly watching his movements. A third thing I loved about the book was the descriptive language that the author used. Now, we weren't ever bogged down with too much descriptive language. I like that it was kept light, it was kept fresh. We found out things as Joel found out things while he was in Italy. So we got to learn the lingo as he learned it. We got to explore the areas as he explored them. We got a sense of what was happening as he sensed them, and that's something I really liked. If there were particular monuments or particular places that Joel had visited, the author does go into a bit more descriptive language, but it didn't feel heavy when he spoke about it. It almost felt like I was on the journey with him, which was quite nice. It added to the authenticity of being a new person, being picked up and plucked into a new city, and I really liked that aspect of the book. Again, it wasn't descriptive heavy, and it just gave enough for us to get a proper immersive feeling of what our character Joel was feeling. And finally, another thing I absolutely loved about the book was the pacing. Any time that we were taken away from Italy, so anything back in Washington, anything back to do with the CIA, anything to do with the president, anything to do with the other nefarious groups that were after Joel, anything like that, the pace was completely different to when we were in Italy with Joel. It almost felt like the pace was so much more faster because of the things and the stuff that was happening. Every time we were in Washington or dealing with the CIA, it almost felt like, and every time we were brought back to Italy and we got a chance to follow Joel, and as he was such a good contrast, because every time we were with the action of everything that was happening outside of Joel's world, the pace had picked up, it was intense, there were so many things going on, and every time we were back it slowed down just to mimic obviously the urgency of what was happening outside of Italy and Joel's bubble and everything that was happening while Joel was in the cities. So once towards the end, the other half of the book, once Joel finally picked up on what was going on and he realized the darker plan going on, the whole book flipped a 180, and then we went right back to this sort of contrasting pace we had prior to it to going from 0 to 180. Really made the book feel so much more exciting. Really felt like I was like in episode of 24. The last chapters, I couldn't put the book down. It was just so intense. For my overall thoughts on the book, I can't think of any negative comments. Like, there was nothing obviously negative that I have to point out and say I really didn't like about the book. I thoroughly enjoyed the book. It was a suspense novel. That's what it's described as, a suspense novel. And historically, the last couple of years, I have read a lot of adult fiction, a lot of romantic fiction. This was a complete 180 to what I have been recently reading, and I'm so glad that I had picked it up and read it, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's definitely, I wouldn't say it should be out of anyone's comfort zone, because it was an easy read, it was easy to get into. The author does a really good job of being able to get you into the story, really resonated with this book. The other thing I did notice was that John Grisham has also written a whole ton of other books, and they're all beautifully presented right there in the back. So if they are anywhere near as good as this, I'll be checking those out, because again, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. And that was it. That was my review of The Broker, written by John Grisham. If you did like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. If it is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe. If you have ever read this book, or if you've read any other books by John Grisham, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to follow me on my socials, and they'll be down in the description below. And that's all for now. I'll see you all next time.